Well, good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Thank you for this opportunity to give this Dharma sharing. Thank you, Brother T, for inviting me, Brother Elvin, and all of you here. Okay, so today I'm going to give this talk on dependent origination, one of the most profound teachings of the Buddha, one of the most, well, I would say some people think it's the most difficult to understand, the most dry, the most complicated, but actually not so. Like we can try to break it down and make it easy to understand. In fact, I think this is one of the things you all chant at ECG very regularly. So is dependent origination just something to be learned, something to be studied, something to be chanted, or is it something to be contemplated on, something to understand, something of practical significance to our lives? So okay, dependent origination made easy. I just gave this talk a few weeks ago to the crowd at UBT, Uttamayanmuni Temple. A lot of more mature people there, all the aunties and uncles. The feedback is they seem to have understand quite a bit of it. So I think you all can't be worse than them, right? All the advanced practitioners here. Okay, so dependent origination. Let's try to explain first what is the meaning of dependent origination. In Pali, dependent origination is called paticca samuppada. Let's see what this means. Paticca means because of or dependent upon. Samuppada means arising or origination. So just simply put, paticca samuppada literally means dependent arising or dependent origination. Okay, firstly, one of the things dependent origination explains the principle of causality. This means that nothing exists on its own, but arises from earlier circumstances. For example, all of us, we are here. Why are we here? Because of our parents. They came together, their relationship, and then finally they gave birth to us. But it doesn't just start from our parents. It started way before that, from our parents' parents. Their parents came together. They had our mom, they had our dad. And then before that, our grandparents, their parents came together. And then all the way back to the origins of time. So we are here because of all our parents, grandparents, forefathers. If any one of those people did not come together, then, well, simply we will not be sitting here, or I will not be standing here. So this means that everything basically is a result of something that has happened before. Give you an example. This is what is stated in Paticca Samuppada, the first general principle of dependent origination. This states that when A arises, B arises. Therefore, when A exists, B exists. But if A does not arise, B does not arise. And if A does not exist, B does not exist. That's why I said just now that if even one of our forefathers did not come together and produce one of our grandparents or parents, we would not exist. So a simple example. I'm standing here now because I know Brother T. I know Brother T through Sister Panya. Sister Panya is not here. She's one of the members of ECG. But I know Sister Panya because I took the YMBA course at Mangala Vihara. If I did not take the YMBA course, I would not have known Sister Panya. If I did not know Sister Panya, she would not introduce me to ECG and through Brother T. If I did not know Brother T, then I would not be standing here. So all these are the links which allows me to be standing here and giving this Dharma talk. So if any one of those links is not in place, then I would not be here. So I'm sure each of you, every single one of you, if you look back, you can trace back your own chain, your own links of how come you are sitting here, listening to this Dharma talk. In fact, if you look back, you can see how you came to Wat Ananda in the first place, and then how all these chain of events lead you to be here at this point in time. So this means that everything has a cause. So all intentional actions of body, speech and mind will have their corresponding positive or negative results. So that means all of you in some point, either in this life or in the past life, must have cultivated some good karma so that you can be here listening to the Dharma for this life and cultivating for this life and your future life. So once we know this principle, we can take our own life into our own hands. In other words, we don't just leave everything to fate or to destiny. A lot of people think, our life here is all fated, there's nothing we can do. So Buddhism teaches you not true at all. We can take our own lives into our own hands. This is because of this principle of causality. So for example, all of you working at a job, whatever the case may be, you want a successful career in business, well, you just lay down the conditions for success. You make a lot of contacts, you do research into your products, you look into what is your competitors' products also. And then also for students, for young people, you want to do well in school, well, you just don't contact school. You work hard, you do your homework, you attend classes. So conversely, if you don't want to do well in school, then you cut your classes, you do all sorts of things, you chit-chat on the internet all the time. So these will be the conditions for failure in school, and likewise for business. You go drinking, you fool around, all that. Obviously your business will not be successful. So if we know the conditions for success, we just put those conditions in place, and eventually, sooner or later, you have better chances of success, of a better life in this life, not in this life, but also in our future lives. So that's why the Buddha says dependent origination is really very important. He said, whoever sees dependent origination sees the Dharma. So I've broken dependent origination into several factors to make it easier to understand. The first one is the principle of causality. This is what I mentioned to you just now. When A arises, B arises. Therefore, when A exists, B exists. And conversely, if A does not arise, B does not arise. When A does not exist, B does not exist. So this is the first aspect of dependent origination. It explains the principle of causality. The second aspect is the components and causes of rebirth. It explains also the cyclical nature of existence, and it also explains how to attain happiness and finally nirvana. So these are the four aspects of dependent originations according to me. So there's no other books or talks that explain it this way, but this is how I try to make it simpler for us to understand dependent origination. So we've seen the first one, principle of causality. So let's look next at what dependent origination says about the components and causes of rebirth. So as you all chant, every time ECG, you all chant all the 12 links of dependent origination. These are the 12 links in English. So I will go through just very quickly first. I will go through again in detail, so not to worry. So I just want to go through the 12 links first. So the first one is ignorance. Depending on ignorance arises karmic formations. Depending on karmic formations arises rebirth consciousness. Depending on rebirth consciousness arises mind and matter. Then depending on mind and matter arises six sense spaces. Six sense spaces arises contact. Then contact arises feeling. Feeling arises craving. Craving arises clinging. Clinging arises becoming. Becoming arises birth. And then finally birth arises decay, suffering, and then death. So this one we can better understand if we break it up into a 3-lifetime model. So you break it up into the past life, the present life, and the future life. Because in dependent origination there are many theories. Not everybody sees dependent origination in this 3-life format. Some teachers, they teach dependent origination as 1 life, some as 2 lives, some they even teach dependent origination in every single thought moment. That means every single thought moment which enters your mind is one cycle of dependent origination. But the most easy to understand and the most practical is actually this 3-life model of dependent origination. This was first put forward by Venerable Buddha Gosa in Sri Lanka around the 5th century AD. I think some of you may know Venerable Buddha Gosa. He's the one that wrote all this Visuddhimagga, path of purification. So he's a highly respected Sri Lankan Thera and a great commentator and writer both in Pali and Sinhalese. So he's the one that first put forward this 3-lifetime model of dependent origination, which most teachers, they will teach based on this model. So let's look a bit closely into this. Firstly, there's a past life. Past life what we mean by the past life is the actions, the karma of our past life. That means what we did in our past life. And then what is the resultants on the present life. So actually, karma does not mean cause and effect. Karma actually means action. Vipaka means resultants. So when we say karma, the more proper term actually is karma vipaka, which means cause and effect. Karma is cause, vipaka is effect. So this is karma of the past life, what we've done in the past life, resulting in our conditions of the present life. So this is karma, this is vipaka. So but our present life is not just simply all our past life, resultant. We also take our present life into our own hands, as I mentioned just now. In other words, our present life is composed both of the resultants brought from the previous life and also what we do in this present life. So it's the vipaka from the past life and also the karma from this present life. So the karma of the present life will determine the resultants of the future life. So this is the vipaka from the future life. So the 3 lifetime model is the past life, the actions of our past life resulting in the conditions of our present life, and the actions of our present life giving results in the future life. This is the basis of the 3 lifetime model of dependent origination. So let's look closely at how this 3 lifetime model relates to the 12 links. So the 12 links, firstly it starts with ignorance of delusion. So this is the past life karma. Obviously, when we have ignorance and delusion, we will have karmic formations, our actions of body, speech and mind. And then our actions of body, speech and mind give rise to further karma. So this is our past life karma which we are concerned with in this 3 lifetime model. All our ignorance and delusion, because obviously we are not enlightened yet. We still have ignorance and delusion which gives rise to karmic formations. And then these karmic formations brings into the present life resultants our rebirth consciousness. That means at the point of death, our karma, our desire, our cravings, delusions, aversion, so on and so forth, will give rise to rebirth consciousness. So this is a sankhara giving rise to the vijnana. That means when you pass away the last life, your rebirth consciousness goes into the womb of your mother for this present life. From the past life, now jump to the rebirth consciousness in the present life. So the rebirth consciousness gives rise to mind and matter, nama, rupa. That means once your consciousness enters your mother's womb, then your fetus, the mind starts forming, the matter starts forming, right? So this is how the fetus arises based on the karma. So mind and matter obviously gives rise to the 6 sense bases. When you're developing as a fetus, as an infant, now you've grown up already, you have your 6 sense bases, right? In Buddhism there's not 5 senses but 6 lah. Your sense bases of your eyes, your nose, your ears, your tongue, your body, and then finally your mind. Your mind is also a sense base. So after mind and matter, you will give rise to the 6 sense bases. And then once you have the 6 sense bases, contact is bound to arise. So the 6 sense bases give rise to contact. For example, now you all are conscious, right? So you all are conscious of what actually? You all are conscious of seeing. There's consciousness, the seeing consciousness arises. Your hearing consciousness arises. You're feeling sometimes a bit of pain, a bit of ache when you're sitting on the floor. Your touch consciousness arises, and then you think this, think that. Your mind consciousness arises. Right now, not much smell and taste consciousness lah. But the thing is that this consciousness moves very fast. So actually, your hearing, your touching, your seeing, all that arises one by one. But it moves so fast that we think it's simultaneous lah. So, but the fact is that there is contact, and this gives rise to the consciousness, the seeing, hearing, so on and so forth. Then contact gives rise to feeling. So like you see, you hear, touch. Sometimes you touch, you feel comfortable, there's a positive feeling. You feel a bit uncomfortable, there's a negative feeling. So contact, of course, will definitely give rise to feeling. So this is what has been brought on from our previous life karma. Like some people, they suffer a lot of illness, so their feeling is negative. Some people, their past life conditions are quite good, they have a healthy body, generally their feelings are quite good also. And then some people, they sort of see a lot of negative things, so that's brought over from the past life. This life you see a lot of good things, that is again brought over from the past life. So these are the resultants from the past life. But like I said, it's not all just resultant. It's also the present life karma. That means based on all these feelings, craving will arise. Craving, you want this, you want that. And then the opposite side of craving is of course aversion. You don't like this, you don't like that. So from feeling arises craving. And from craving arises clinging. That means you like something, you always want it, you want more of the same thing. You don't like something, you really hate it, you are so sick of it. That's how the opposite side of the aversion and hatred arises. And of course from clinging, becoming arises. Becoming means the becoming of, again, karmic formations. Because based on your craving and clinging, again, actions of body, speech and mind will arise. And this is the becoming of the actions of body, speech and mind. And the becoming of body, speech and mind, after you pass away in this life, again, there's a future birth, again, there's a future decay, suffering and death. So you can see it's broken up into this 3 lifetime model. The past life karma, present life resultant, present life karma, future life resultant. Okay, so I'll just move on to cover a bit of the Pali terms. I think when you chant, you know all the Pali terms by now. Avijja, Sankara, Vijnana, Nama Rupa, Salayatana, Phassa, Vedana, Tanha, Upadana, Bhava, Jati, Jara, Marana. So Jara, Marana, actually there's a lot more. I just cut short. You can open your books, I think page 32 or 34. All these terms will be there. So when you chant next time, you know all these terms. So we go on to something a bit different. Buddhist art. Tibetan Tanka. You all know what the Tanka is? Okay. I think here you all don't have, but some temples they have the Tanka. It's a very beautiful piece of art. So it's actually a Buddhist Tanka is a piece of art. It's a painted or embroidered Buddhist banner. They hang in monasteries, altars. They are carried by the Tibetan monks when they go on ceremonies or when they go on their travels. So it's a flat piece of art. It's a kind of painting done over a flat surface. So because it's flat, you can roll it around and you can put it in your bag or whatever, and then you can travel with it. So it's very convenient. So these tankas, they became very popular among the traveling monks. Because I explained, these scrolls, they were easily rolled up and then they can carry from here and there to different monasteries as they give teachings. So these tankas are important teaching tools. They depict various subjects. Among the various subjects, it depicts the life of the Buddha, deities, bodhisattvas, and so on and so forth. Because at that time, they don't have notebook computer, so they carry all this one shot, all the teachings they can explain. So one of the teachings they like to have very popular is called the Wheel of Life, which is a visual representation of the Abhidhamma teachings. They call it sometimes the art of enlightenment. So these tankas, they are really, really beautiful, offer manifestations of the divine. So it's both visually and mentally stimulating. Here's a picture of the mandalas. Very nice. All these are the different teachings and then centered around this point here. So if those of you who can see, your eye gradually drawn into the center, right? So some of these mandalas, they use as tools for visualization and for meditation. That means they use this to meditate, contemplate the teachings. Another popular subject is the life of the Buddha. Really very nice. The Buddha here, shows how the Buddha was born and different aspects of the Buddha's life. So that's what I'm saying is that they just pull this out. The teacher, the Rinpoche or the Lama or whatever, they will just pull this out, and then from this single painting, they can give the entire teachings of the life of the Buddha. That's what I mean, it's so convenient, they just carry this around. The other popular subject of this tankas, my favorite actually, is called the Wheel of Life. So this Wheel of Life tanka actually is dependent origination. Everything in dependent origination, a lot of the teachings in Abhidhamma is encapsulated, is encompassed in this one single tanka. All this here. For those of you can see. We try to explain. The center part has three animals. These three animals drive our existence in samsara. These three animals represent greed, hatred, and delusion. There's the cockerel, the pig, and the snake. So these three represent greed, hatred, and delusion. That's why it's at the center. This is Mahayana. So Mahayana considers greed, hatred and delusion as the basis for continued rebirth. In Theravada is ignorance and craving. But again, aversion, hatred is just the other side of the coin for craving. So it actually comes to the same thing. So at the center of the wheel is greed, hatred, and delusion. The next ring represents our journey through samsara. Every time up to the heaven realms, down to the hell realms, up and down, up and down, up and down, throughout samsara. We can never escape samsara based on this wheel of life. Always caught by greed, hatred, and delusion. We go down the hell realms, sometimes animal realms, sometimes the Peta realms, the spirit realms, sometimes the Asura realms, sometimes we go up to the heaven realms, sometimes to the human realms. So this represents our journey up and down, up and down, up and down. The next outer ring represents the 6 realms of existence. Of course, this splits up into the 31 realms, but also is considered the 6 realms of existence of samsara. So here we have the heaven realms, the human realms, the spirit realms, and then the hell realms. These animal realms, the asura realms, and then back again to the heaven realms. So this next ring represents all the 6 realms of samsara. Always we are traveling up and down all these 6 realms. Then the next ring represents none other than the 12 links of dependent origination. So the first thing is an old man, and then go on and so on and so forth. All the 12 links. The one I like is one of these, I think is this one. Shows a man, his eye pierced by an arrow. This represents contact. So each one has a different meaning. Like this one is a house, 5 windows and a door. So this is the 6 sense bases. So each of these has a significance, has a symbolic meaning. So like I said, some different meanings. The action is represented by a potter. Contact is maybe sexual contact. Becoming is a pregnant woman. Rebirth, a baby being born. Old age and death, an old person walking in a cane. Okay, but if you only look at this part, this is not so good, right? Because this does not show how we can escape samsara, how we can escape from suffering. So it goes on beyond that, this painting. But before that, you see this figure, this scary, monstrous figure with all the scars, the teeth, the claws and all that. This represents Yama, the god of death. Not necessarily there's a Yama, but this is how Yama is depicted. Why is it so huge? Why is it so scary? Because death is something to be feared, right? All of us fear death. No matter how much you contemplate, you can lessen your fear of death. But even so, there's still a bit of fear. Not to say for us, those ordinary people, they don't contemplate on death. They don't even want to talk about death. So I'm sure you come across people talk about death. Hey, don't talk to me about it. So this shows how death is feared by people, by all the beings in samsara, whether it's a heaven realm. People in heaven realm also fear death, but eventually they have to pass away. So not to say all the other beings. So that's why Yama is such a huge figure, such a scary figure. And the point is that everything here in samsara is under the control of death. This is the dominion, this is the kingdom of death. But there's more to it than that in this painting. This is very big, right? Okay, the 2 small figures here at the 2 top corners. What do they mean? Firstly, the second one on the left. This is Amitabha. This is a Mahayana depiction. So they have Amitabha, and the other one is our Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, Sakyamuni Buddha at this corner. So there's 2 ways of escaping this cycle of birth and death. One way is belief or faith in Amitabha Buddha, you go to the Pure Land. But here what we are more concerned is of course the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, Sakyamuni Buddha. The crescent moon represents faith in Amitabha Buddha. The sun here represents the Eightfold Path. So what this whole Tanka is telling you, there's this huge god of death, Yama, everything in samsara here, in the control of Yama, but there's a way out. the Eightfold Path. So why this so big and it is so small? Obviously because very few people can see this one. How many people you know that can really follow either of these two paths? Not to say the Eightfold Path. Among all your friends, of course we have more friends who are Buddhists, but if you take the whole population of Singapore, you take the whole population of Asia, you take the whole population of the world, a very, very, very minuscule 0.00, don't know how many percent actually really follow the Eightfold Path. That's why this is pictured as so small. And all this in samsara is pictured as so big. That's why you all here, every single one of you, congratulate yourself. You can see the Eightfold Path and the way out of samsara. So this is the Wheel of Life, the Tibetan depiction. This is the Burmese depiction. All the different aspects of dependent origination. But the topic of this talk is dependent origination made easy, not dependent origination made difficult. So I'm not going into this now. This one, once you know, you can go into yourself. But like I said just now in the Theravada, the central one is Avijja and Tanha. So it's a slight difference, but it actually comes to the same thing. Okay, so we've seen the principle of causality. We've seen the components and causes of rebirth, all the 12 links. Next is the cyclical nature of existence. What do we mean by this? This is a cyclical concept of existence. Life, death, birth, life, death, birth. But this is a concept. Not all people subscribe to this cyclical concept. The other concept is the linear concept of existence. This is what people who believe in the theistic religions believe in, those who believe in God, those who believe in the other religions, those who don't believe in rebirth, they subscribe to this linear concept of existence. Linear concept means there's at first eternity and eternity. In other words, at first there's eternity and then you are born. That means out of nowhere, without any previous causes and conditions, you are born. But in Buddhism, in those cyclical concepts, there's always a previous cause. That means you're not just born out like that. You're born, like I mentioned just now, because of your parents and because of your parents' parents, your forefathers, and all the way back. But in the linear concept of existence, you're just born like that, either through the grace of God or whatever the case may be. You are just born out from nowhere without any previous conditions or causes. Then what happens is that you are born, you live your life, 60, 70, whatever years, and then you die. So you're born, you live, and then you die. And then at the end of death, it's either nihilism, that means nothing after death, nothing, totally non-existence. This is what the atheists believe in. We are born in this life, after that, nothing. Or the other aspect is death leading to eternal life. Like I said, most of the God-based religions, we believe in this. You have eternal life after you die. That means eternity, you are born out from nowhere, you live your life, death, either nihilism or eternalism. So either nihilism or eternalism, after that eternity, and that's it. So this is just a picture of heaven and hell. So according to the linear concept, after you die, you live forever and ever in a heaven, enjoying yourself, and then those not fortunate enough, you will suffer forever, burning in hell, forever and ever and ever. So this is a linear concept. That means from point A, you start, and in point B. For the other concept is different. You are born, you live, you die. After that, you are reborn, you live, you die. And this goes on and on and on. And what this is not much more than the Paticca Samuppada, right? So you go on and on, the 12 links, all the different realms up and down, driven by greed, hatred and delusion. So Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination, also explains that our concept of existence is not linear, it's not point A to point B, but it's always round and round. Birth, you live your life, you die, and then you're reborn, so on and so forth. Okay? So there's dependent origination. We've seen the principle of causality, components and causes of rebirth, the cyclical nature of existence. Now what is more important is how to attain happiness and finally Nibbana. Because the Buddha hardly ever give a teaching which is not practical, which has no practical application. He doesn't just give a teaching like that and then you just know it, that's all. all his teachings have a practical application on how we can be better people, how we can attain peace and happiness, not only in this life, but also beyond our this life. So, dependent origination teaches us how to attain happiness and finally Nibbana, and this is really what Paticca Samuppada is about. This is the important part of it. The rest is just background. Okay, let's go into this. How to attain happiness and finally Nibbana. We have ignorance, delusion, so on and so forth, past life karma, present life resultants, present life karma, future life resultants. Okay, let's go into this. Present life resultants, what we have brought on from our previous life. Depending on our past life, as I mentioned, we can have positive feelings, pleasant feelings, we can have negative feelings, unpleasant feelings. But people react to different feelings differently. Like some of you, the same dish, you go and eat Thai food. Maybe Brother T said, wow, shiok man, hot. Then maybe Sister Linda said, hey, wow, too hot, I cannot take it. But it's the same dish. But people react differently to the same thing. So people have different feelings according to their own perceptions. Let me give you another example. Let's say you are driving. Anybody here drive Mitsubishi Evo or Subaru WRX? Nobody. Okay, you know some of these cars, right, really quite fierce. All the spoiler, big exhaust pipe, this and then paint black, highway, boom, they on you, chase you all the way. So of course, naturally, if you're driving peacefully, minding your own business, this car on, and then you've got to siam. Anger, right? Anger, frustration, hatred, and that guy, you know, bloody idiot, then depends on how you react to it lah. So your feeling is negative, anger, frustration, hatred. But it depends on how you deal with it. Right? So from the past life resultant comes down to your present life karma. And this is what counts. You can react in one of two different ways. The guy horn you fed up, go and chase him and then get into a fight. Next day, newspaper, road rage, people hammer people, right? The other way you can react is, okay lah, may all beings be well and happy, you go your own way. Maybe the poor guy got stomachache rushing to the toilet. Let him go. Maybe he's late to fetch his wife. After late kena scolding, then okay lah, go lah. So you go peacefully, he go peacefully, then everybody peaceful, right? So this is what I mean when you react differently to the same set of circumstances. Another example, husband and wife. Sometimes very difficult relationship. You all will know, right? Sometimes having dinner with your family, peacefully eating, then your wife can work either both ways, husband or wife. Just give the example. Let's say maybe your wife, suddenly your wife scold you for nothing. Hey, you, this or that. So naturally you never do anything, you get frustrated, right? Frustrated, angry and all that. So the natural reaction is to go and scold back your wife. Say, hey, what I do to you? This and that. And then, of course, get into a big quarrel. So you both get upset, your kids get upset, you don't talk to each other for weeks, and then, well, sad case. But not necessarily you have to react that way. As a husband or wife, you can say, oh, okay, never mind, let her go first. Let me continue eating my rice, enjoying the food, drinking my soup. Let her go first. Just keep cool, keep calm. Then later on, when things cool down, you say, dear, honey, what happened to you? Then maybe your wife cool down already. She said, oh, okay lah, sorry about that. I had a tough time at work. Maybe some of my colleagues, they go and work wrongly, and then because of that, my boss scolded me. Then sorry. I was angry at the wrong time lah. So your wife says sorry to you, and then, but actually this is quite far-fetched lah. The other way, much easier. The husband very common say sorry to the wife. How many times the wife says sorry to the husband? But we can always imagine got such thing. Okay, never mind. So let's say, for example, your wife says sorry, okay, I'm sorry about that. Then you say, okay, it's okay, never mind. I understand you had a hard time at work today. You said the wrong thing at the wrong time. That's over and done with lah. Then everybody happy, you're happy, your wife happy, your children happy. So you see how to attain happiness, right? So you don't just act according to what the situation presents you. You can take it into your own hands. So that maybe past life, maybe last life, you always scold your wife. So this life, your wife come and scold you. So you just take it cool and calm. So there's negative karma bringing a result in this present life. But sometimes it can be a good karma which you may not make full use of. Okay, let's say past life you did some donation, so this life your friend asked you buy 4D or lottery or whatever, you went and touched, $10,000, good karma, right? So, but your good karma doesn't mean that you use your funds wisely. You may say, $10,000, then you gather all your group of friends, Sentosa Resort World opening. You have a big feast there, shark fin, kill all the sharks, live seafood, kill all the prawns and all that. So have a big feast, then after that go and gamble. So you gamble, you lose your $10,000. Wow, so fed up lah, not happy. You can borrow your friends, come each 1,000, go and whack again. So lose again. So not only your $10,000 gone, at the end of the day, you owe your friend another $10,000. So that's good karma, but become bad karma, right? So you may use it more wisely. You say, okay, $10,000, I'll give my friends a treat. Vegetarian, you don't kill so many animals. Okay, so have a nice dinner. Then maybe one of your niece or nephew, they wanted to study, can't afford the course fees. Okay, I'll give you $2,000-$3,000, help you in your education. Another $2,000-$3,000 donate to Firefly or whatever, and then the rest you save lah for your future . So your good karma become even better karma. So this is what I mean. From your previous bad karma, you can make it into good karma, and your good karma, you can make it into even better karma. So all your feeling, your craving and clinging, this is what counts. That means all your previous things from your past life, you bring it into this life, you react mindfully. You don't just simply react, lose your temper or what. You examine it, use some wisdom, use some mindfulness, and then you take your own present life karma into this life . Do you see what I mean? Okay. Anybody know this guy? William Tan, Dr. William Tan. One of the most inspirational figures I have ever met in my life. From the waist down, his limbs are totally useless. How I know? It's because a few years ago, even before I went into Buddhism, I volunteered for one of his events. He had this 24-hour ride around Singapore on his wheelchair to raise funds, I think for some cancer or some other purpose. I can't remember exactly what. But the fact is that he had this event, whole Singapore, 24 hours, he pushed himself. I think for us, we can't even push ourselves out the door. Based on this, he's really tough. But he's not muscular, he's just like any of us, but his determination is so great that he can do this. So what happens is that I volunteered because he must have a support team. I volunteered to drive the ambulance behind him because every, I think, half an hour, 1 hour or so, he would stop, take a rest, and then I was in the ambulance team driving . So it's really quite jialat. You drive around Singapore. My shift was 12 hours around Singapore. They started from Raffles Place. They go all like East Coast, Chua Chu Kang, Lim Chu Kang, all the way back down to town . So 12 hours on one round. At the end of the 12 hours, we, the ambulance driver, we can't really go back to sleep. But he only half no. He go one more round no. And then the next ambulance team take over. Yeah, my shift 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I volunteered that shift because it's not so hot evening . So the next shift, lagi more tough because daytime they got to drive hot sun. But the fact is that he go one more round, 24 hours non-stop like that. How tough is he? And he's a handicap, totally useless from the legs down. So this guy, he does all this, he goes throughout the world, all the continents, he breaks records for this wheelchair racing to raise funds. So whether his karma or what from the past life, that's beside the point. But the thing is that he uses his present life, no matter how difficult is his conditions, handicapped from the waist down, to do so much good things, do so much good work. You see what I mean? So this is an example which all of us can derive inspiration from. I think most of you here already do a lot of good things, but this is really, really, truly an inspiration for us, for each and every one of us, such conditions, and yet he can do so much good works despite all his difficulties. So going back to the subject on the dependent origination. So we have our feelings, cravings, clingings, becoming, and all that. So we practice the Eightfold Path. Slowly, we become more mindful, we develop more wisdom, we acquire more knowledge. Then our greed, hatred and delusion, less and less and less. So ignorance and delusion less and less and less based on our practice, right? So as our ignorance and delusion less and less and less, then eventually one of our lives in the near future or even the far future, practice, less and less ignorance and delusion, then we become enlightened. So when we are enlightened, no more ignorance and delusion. So no more ignorance and delusion, we don't produce any more karmic formations. That means our actions, like the Arahants, the Buddha's actions, even though they may have actions or body, speech and mind, they no longer produce karma because they have already cut through all ignorance and delusion. So when you have no more ignorance and delusion, your actions of body, speech and mind do not produce any more karma. So when you don't produce any more karma, then you do not seek a further rebirth. So there's no more rebirth consciousness. When you have no more rebirth consciousness, your consciousness does not go to another life, then obviously no more mind and matter, no more six sense bases, no more contact, no more feeling, no more craving, no more becoming, no more birth, no more decay, suffering and death, and then Nibbana. So this is Paticca Samuppada, how to attain happiness, and finally Nibbana. Okay, that's the end of my talk for dependent origination today. Thank you. Any questions?
What's the rate of
Okay, you're asking what is the rate of achievement of enlightenment for each lifetime. Well, I think it depends on each individual, how you cultivate. I think different people will have different rates of progress. Because in Buddhism, there's no one size fits all. The Buddha never said, you do this means you do this. The Buddha gave teachings for different people of all levels. That means if you are just come into contact with the Dharma for the first time, maybe you just practice dana, you just practice sila, maybe you try to do a bit of meditation. Some people don't even reach that level, because I'm sure you know some people very devotional. They come into contact with Buddhism, first thing they just come to the temple and that's about it. So maybe for that person, the level of progress or the rate of progress towards enlightenment is up to them only. But as you go along, maybe in this life, you get further progress, you practice more morality, you can keep your precepts, and then maybe after that, you can do a bit more meditation. And then some people, they go even further, they go for meditation retreat, they really practice mindfulness all the time. So their rate towards enlightenment may be a bit faster. So the rate of enlightenment actually depends on each different individual. But I believe that if you practice in this present life, you can move very fast. I don't believe in some people they think no matter how much you practice, you cannot even attain Sotapan, you cannot attain stream entry. There is a very negative and pessimistic appraisal of Buddhism. Because the Buddha teach the Dharma for us to eventually attain enlightenment, for us to attain progress in this very life. The Buddha never said you practice in this life, next life, thousands of lives later, then you can attain any progress. If you practice in this life, you can make progress in this life. That is definitely for sure. Some of these teachings, you practice vipassana meditation, you practice morality, you acquire knowledge, sure you can get progress. And you can get progress at a very fast rate if you sincerely practice. No such thing as thousands of lives later then you get progress. You make your progress in this life. Don't worry about the future life. This life you practice sincerely and properly, you will make progress. I hope I answered your question. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, brothers and sisters.